Okay, so first of all, I want to thank Zohar for inviting me here on behalf of FCC College. I think she is an amazing young lady. She's very organized and she is very professional, and I really appreciate that. And one thing I really, really like about her is that she always says yes before she says no. And for me, that is what defines a person who will go boldly. So thank you. And so with that, I'm here because everybody has heard about the Pink Rickshaw Initiative. And we have a couple of other I'm sure, lots of very bold people here, both men and women. And I have a couple of other women who are here with me, and I'll introduce them to you later. But let's start this with a very short documentary of women who are great examples of being bold and progressive, and who also have learned in very early years of their lives to always say yes first before they come up and say no. So can we start with the documentary, please? It's only 4 minutes.
अच्छा जी, सबसे पहले तो आप अपना नाम बताइए।
मेरा नाम रूपा हसन है।
अच्छा, और पिंक रिक्शा स्कीम का कहाँ सुना और क्यों ख्याल आया कि आप रिक्शा चलाएंगे?
मैडम, इसका मुझे मेरी फ्रेंड ने बताया कि पिंक रिक्शा फॉर लेडीज़ स्कीम है, तो मैंने उसको नेट पे सर्च किया, लेकिन उस वक्त तक मुझे कोई इसका मेन नंबर नहीं मिल रहा था। फिर मेरी फ्रेंड के बॉस हैं, उन्होंने नेट पे सर्च करके मुझे आपका नंबर दिया, फिर मैंने आपको कॉल की और मुझे पता चला कि यहाँ से
जिन्होंने मुझे सोर्स ऑफ इनकम दिया। और मैं बहुत ज़्यादा मैंने ज़िंदगी में नाकामियाँ झेली। शायद नाकामियाँ इसलिए होती हैं कि आपको आगे बहुत बड़ी कामयाबी मिली। स्पेशली मैडम ज़ार के बहुत थैंक यू, जिन्होंने मुझे इतनी हिम्मत दी और मुझ पर इतना ट्रस्ट किया। खुद से कहा कि आपको मैं फ्री ट्रेनिंग देती हूँ। मैडम ने मुझे फ्री ट्रेनिंग दी और उन्होंने फ्री मुझे लाइसेंस दिया, फ्री मुझे रूट परमिट्स दिए, और मुझे इस काबिल बनाया कि मैं अपने कदमों पे खड़ी हूँ आज। और मैंने बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट इनकी वजह से हासिल की, जिसकी वजह से मैं आज बहुत खुश हूँ और मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि मुझे VIP जॉब मिल गई है।
मेरा नाम परवीन है जी, और मैं पहले भी रिक्शा चलाती थी, लेकिन ये चलाने के बाद एहसास नहीं होता कि बंदा थकावट में आ सकता है, या फिर ऐसे लगता है कि ये रिक्शा नहीं, ये कार। और ये जिन लोगों ने भी की है, अल्लाह उनको बहुत अजर दे इस चीज़ का। ये औरतें अगर ये चलाएं तो हलाल की रोटी कमा सकती हैं। मेरे अपने रिश्तेदार हैं जो मेरे से अब मिलना नहीं चाहते कि आप ये रिक्शा चलाएं, तो इसमें कोई बुराई है? नहीं, कोई बुराई नहीं।
ना तो मेरा नहीं है, बच्ची है। मैंने हिम्मत नहीं हारी, कुछ ना कुछ करती रहूँ। बच्ची है, जॉब करती है और पढ़ती भी है, तो कभी बेचारी रुक जाती है जॉब से, फिर पेपर देती है इस तरह। और समझिए कि मेरा बहन अकेली हूँ, मैं 3 भाई हैं, ना होते हुए मतलब होते हुए भी मेरा कोई भी नहीं है। शादीशुदा हो जाओ, बच्चे हो जाओ, तो कोई साथ नहीं देता। यही समझे कि बस मैं इतनी हिम्मत है मेरे में, मैं कुछ ये चलाऊँगी, अपनी मेहनत करूँगी, अपने बच्चे के लिए कुछ करूँगी, घर मेरा गिरने वाला है उसको सही करवाऊँगी, सब कुछ करूँगी मैं, मेहनत करूँगी, किसी को नहीं मैं कुछ भी कहूँगी, वहाँ से सीखूँगी, वहाँ से रिक्शा लूँगी, चलाऊँगी, सड़क पे आऊँगी, लोगों को दिखाऊँगी कि मैंने लिया है।
So that's what it means to go boldly. It's not me, it's all these other women who have taken this step and have faith in themselves and have decided to change their lives. And I know we all have it in us, each one of us. What it takes is hard work, what it takes is persistence, what it takes is belief in yourself, and it takes a lot of courage. But you know what? We can all do it. So what I want to do is just share with you how this whole Pink Rickshaw thing came about. It's a short story of my own personal journey. I came back to Pakistan about 4 years ago. I had lived all my adult life in California. I went to school in Kansas, and then I came to Silicon Valley and found a job where I worked for over 25 plus years in different technology companies in marketing, business development, sales, and so on and so forth. Well, in 2008, our economy had tanked. Things were really, really bad there in California. By the way, somebody is supposed to guide me as to how much time I have left. Okay. So things were really bad in California. I had gone through some personal crisis. I had several setbacks. And like some people say, when one thing goes wrong, Murphy's Law, everything goes wrong. You know, if anything can go wrong, it does. And that's the state where I was in at that time. And I had a couple of options. I thought about it, and I figured, well, people around me were depressed. Even a place like California, Silicon Valley, was in a state of depression. You know, we'd go to these restaurants where you could never find a table. You'd have to wait for 2 hours to be seated. And in those days, if you walked inside of those very popular restaurants, they'd be empty. So that was the kind of state people were in, my own personal friends, including myself. And at that time, I thought, well, I've got a couple of options. I have to think about this. I have a choice to stay on and muddle through this crisis because the economy was so bad, we didn't know when it would turn around. Or I can look at this as an opportunity to do something else, to learn about something different. So what I did was I decided to do something else. And the something else I decided to do was I rented my house, I shed most of my furniture, and I thought I'm going for a walkabout. And are you guys familiar with the term walkabout? It's what the Australians do, right? When they want to take off, they call it, I'm going for a walkabout. So that's what I decided to do. And my goal was that I will go around and go to different countries, and in each country, I will learn something new. So that's how I set out after being in California for over 25, 30 years, and having lived there, that was my home. So I take off for this go-about, and my first stop was in Turkey. From Turkey, I went to Greece. I took the Midnight Express equivalent train. I didn't know how long it took. it would take me to get to Greece, and so on and so forth. And during that journey, I tried to learn different things. And the plan was that I will do a circle around, and in that circle, I will also stop in Pakistan, in Lahore. But I didn't know whether I would stop in Lahore for 2 days or 5 days, because I could never I couldn't handle Lahore anymore, because I'd been out of the country for so long, I felt like a stranger. The only reason I came back was that I wanted to see my mom for 2 or 3 days. So I came back, but guess what? So the first day that I was back in Lahore, my neighbors, I had always wanted to learn how to sing. I still can't, but but my neighbors arranged for a tutor for me. And I was the go-getter, so I would wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I wanted lessons at 6 a.m. in the morning. So my poor family suffered a lot. And they wanted me to stop this nonsense. But regardless, I carried on. Then in the afternoon, I would go and play tennis. And then in the evening, I was playing golf. I was having the time of my life. Well, several months passed, and it was time for me to go home. So before I went home, I decided, well, I need to travel around. I need to see the northern parts of Pakistan. Now that I'm here, I might as well go check it out. So I started traveling in the northern parts of Pakistan, and I was doing it all alone, by myself. I would take the Daewoo, and I would go to Islamabad, and from there I would either drive or take a plane. And I started traveling. When I started traveling, I realized one thing. I saw that there was so much garbage in Pakistan that as soon as you turn a corner, it was a dump. Every corner was a landfill. And that really hit me very hard. The other thing that I realized was that before I had come back to Pakistan, I did a short stint, and I used to volunteer to teach kids. And I also joined a college. So I had realized that I love being with kids, I love teaching, and I have this ability, a strength that I had never realized was to be able to connect with young people like yourselves. So these two things, and I love the outdoors. So when it was time for me to go back to Pakistan, to California, to go home, as soon as I got in the plane, I got this clarity. And the clarity was I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So when I got in the plane, I was already writing a business plan in my head. And the business plan was that I'm going to create a nonprofit. Very long story short, I went back, I did the business plan, I created the nonprofit, I took care of my finances, and I came back to Pakistan knowing fully well that for 2 years, I'm not going to see a paycheck. Regardless, the nonprofit started. We started doing a lot of projects. The bottom line was that when I came back to Pakistan, I was like a deer with the headlights. I didn't know what was the next step because I didn't know anybody. But I wasn't going to be held back. Anyway, so we started this nonprofit, and we started working with the kids, and we got funded, and I met some wonderful, wonderful people in the process. My program manager, Zar Aslam, is here with me today. And I thought, well, there are people like that in Pakistan, and they're great. And they're the ones who really, truly need to be celebrated. Well, all of that happened, and we did our projects. And the next thing that happened, because I'm running out of time, I have to speed it up. One fine morning, we decided, well, we're going to do something about empowering women. And we were asked to write a grant about 16 days of activism. And what we thought was, why just 16 days? why not 16 days and beyond? And that's how the Pink Rickshaw was born. Something tangible, something realistic, something that would empower a woman, not just for 16 days of speeches, but would give her a lifeline. So that's how the Pink Rickshaw started. And once the Pink Rickshaw started, we've had, and remember, you will always have setbacks. I had my setback in California, but guess what? When I came forward and I decided to do something without worrying about or without living my life in apology or in fear, the last 4 or 5 years have been the best years of my life. And that's the honest truth. So once we launched the Pink Rickshaw Initiative, I met some more wonderful people. And one of them is Rupa. Rupa Afzal is sitting right here with all of us. You've seen her documentary. It is indeed a privilege and a pleasure to work with Rupa. I think we need to celebrate women and men like that, who can get out of their comfort zone and do things without worrying about the consequences. What have we to lose? Nothing. So with that, I would like to end my talk and invite you all to please meet Rupa in the break, shake her hand, celebrate her, and maybe she'll give you a ride in her Pink Rickshaw someday. Thank you so much.